I want to welcome you, Grandparents' Day, to Flagler Memorial Chapel. My name is John Downs. I am a proud alumnus of Millbrook School, class of 1998. I've been in high schools now, not when I was in high school, but working in high schools for 24 years. 16 of those years have been here at Millbrook School. I was director of admission for 7 years. And then I was demoted to associate head of school for 4 years, and then demoted to head of school. And I've now been head of school for 5 years, and I actually get to work my dream job. So I want to thank all of you for making every effort that you made to be with us here today. I'm told nearly 200 grandparents were here today. And I'm also told that at least half of you have been on your best behavior. So I want to thank you for that, for the great turnout. And returners, I want to warm you up with a few door prizes. I have a few questions for you. And I like to ask this question every year because it always astounds me. If you have served in our armed forces, or you are married to someone who has served in the armed forces, will you please raise your hand? I wonder if we're going to see that in 10, 20, 30 years. I want to say thank you for your service. And before you leave, I just, as a thanks, as a token, I want to give you a pin from our newly rebranded Trevor Lovejoy Zoo, just to say thank you before you go. So those of you who raised your hand, please see me at the door and I will hand you a pin just to say a personal thanks from me. I always love to find out who the oldest grandparent in the room is. And I know is Mr. Kiter here? I know he's 90. Yeah? 90? Do we have any grandparents who are older than 90? 90? 90?
89.
89. All right, we're in a race. 89, you're out. You're young. 90. Okay, what year were you born and what month? September and October 1935. So you're the winner at September, and we'd like to give you a blanket to stay warm. Okay? Millbrook School blanket. I know Grandma Zarkadoulis is here, and no one seems to beat her, but she has 25 grandchildren. Has anyone got that beat in the room? All right, she's the winner. God bless. I'd like to find out who the youngest in the room is. Are there any grandparents in their 50s? No? Any grandparents? Well, I'm not counting you. Any grandparents in early 60s? Under 65? Okay, we're all over 65. Now we're 66? 67? 68? Did she really win? Okay. Lori Egan. Okay, we got you. This is great because I know Lori and I know she doesn't drink, but here's wine in a glass. You can give that to your... Yeah, you can have it from me. That's so good. My last question, and then we'll get moving with a couple things I'd like to share. How many of you have had a career, bulk of your career, that's different, distinguishably different from your college major? So I'll give an example. I have 2 college roommates, one who was a Russian major, and he's a veterinarian. He takes care of animals. I have another who is an AmCiv, American Civilization major, and he's an orthopedic surgeon. Nothing to do with his major. I went to a liberal arts college, if you haven't. So how many of you actually have had careers that are pretty different from what your college major was? Interesting. So we're close to half. Thank you. Knowing a little bit about you, who's in the room, is helpful because there's such a range of experience and perspective in this room. And your grandchildren and your children are so blessed. So I want to thank you, grandmothers, grandfathers, for joining us today. And on behalf of the entire Millbrook School community, I'm honored and delighted to welcome you here, a day that our faculty have come to recognize as the happiest day of the year, Grandparents' Day. I say that every year, and one grandma said to me once, so it's all downhill from here, John? And indeed, that may be true. Why it's the happiest day of the year? It's because I am convinced that your grandchildren love you so much more than they love their parents. They do. Unlike their parents, they actually want you to be here. They love you because you have a special way of making them feel totally loved without judgment or hourly parental questioning. A reminder to some of you returners, my best friend in college, my roommate from when I went to school here at Millbrook, Matt Marcello, his grandfather, the late Turk Marcello, used to say this to every single person he would meet. It's nice to meet you. You are my only friend. Go like this. Hey, Michael. So good to meet you. John,
Nice to meet you,
you are my only friend.
It's nice to hear.
And I mean it.
Because you're my only friend.
Elisa?
Yes.
Elisa, it's nice to see you.
Thank you.
You are my only friend. Thank you. So, Turk Marcello would say that, and he would make you feel like no one else in the world mattered but you. And even if he was full of malarkey, which he was, you still felt this kind of unconditional love and support, and therefore you wanted to believe him. And this magical connection between a grandparent and grandchild is perhaps best explained by Sam Levinson, who said, "The reason grandchildren and grandparents get along so well is because they have a common enemy." Or, as my father-in-law has become fond of reminding me, because he's in love, I have 3 children, he's in love with my 3 children. He said, grandchildren are the gifts we receive for not killing our own children. So now, my niece JC is here. She's in the 6th form. That is our senior year. And her sister Joey is in the 3rd form. And just cards face up for all of you. These are my parents here on Grandparents' Day. They get a I can assure you, they are so happy that they did not murder my brother Josh. So that he could bring JC and Joey and their siblings into the world, and make no mistake, they absolutely unequivocally at times were plotting out the murder of my brother Josh. So here we are, happiest day of the year. You're my only friends. And friends, I want to tell you that your grandchildren are blessed to be in a wonderful school with a noble mission. Our mission is this: in a community where every student is known and needed, Millbrook prepares its students for college and lives of meaning and consequence by instilling the values of respect, integrity, service, stewardship of the natural world, and curiosity. That's it. It's one sentence. 30 years ago, that was a 3-page mission. Now it's one sentence, clear as clear can be. It's our promise to one another. It's who we are and it's who we're not. And I would say that clarity is helpful these days. Schools have been under a microscope. The days of just listen to your teacher, which I'm sure some of you experienced growing up with your parents, they're over. And our country leans heavily on schools, sometimes too much, to be the course of correction for our future. So I want to talk about 2 relevant topics today with you. I want to talk about artificial intelligence and cell phones. Okay? We are a values-based school, as you heard in our mission. And while we care deeply about preparing your grandchildren for college, I actually think that's easy. The hard stuff, what's not easy, is will they be productive, informed, generous, resilient citizens in a democratic society? Can they engage in civil discourse with an open mind, whether they stand with the majority or minority on a given topic? Will they be good husbands and wives and partners? Will they be ethical leaders and socially conscious volunteers? Will they find an avocation? That is, will they find a hobby that will live with them through their adult lives and provide them with a sense of purpose and meaning beyond work success? And I believe that truly holistic schools have the responsibility of spending as much time preparing our students to be 40 and 50 and 60 as we do preparing them to be 18 to 22. So this is hard because the world's not just changing, it has been fundamentally altered for good. Artificial intelligence and generative machine learning will be a forever challenge for school from here on out, for the rest of my career. AI threatens what we do best: critical thinking, collaborative group inquiry, clear, cogent, persuasive, analytical writing, and the relational nature of education. That is, people to people and idea to idea, which is the very essence of our existence as an ideal-sized boarding school here at Millbrook. All of it, our value proposition, is being tested and threatened daily. So a quick story that I suspect and hope will resonate with you. You've lived this kind of story, so have some fun with me. We were in our kitchen here at Millbrook, had some friends over for the weekend. We were cooking breakfast, and the toaster dings. The next batch of English muffins was ready for consumption. Finley, that's my 8-year-old daughter, asked if we had any jam or jelly for the muffins. So I searched through the condiment section of the refrigerator, and I found something of the sort, and I put the jar on the counter, and I exclaimed, "You're in luck. Your wish is my command, Finley. Here you go." And Aurora, my 11-year-old, said, "What's the difference between jelly and jam?" And then the most meaningful, absurd, ridiculous conversation ensued. The moment reminded me of when teaching hits a state of flow. Everyone's participating, no one's dominating. The creative spirit of the room comes together naturally without resistance and without much effort. We're laughing, we're lost, we're engaged, wholly in the pursuit of an answer, listening intensely to one another as we use logic and wonder to arrive at a collective agreement of what exactly distinguishes jelly from jam and jam from jelly. So the conversation goes something like this. It's a good question. I don't know. I wonder if there's no difference at all. Maybe they are synonyms. What's a cinnamon? Not a cinnamon, the spice, a synonym. 2 words that mean the same thing. That's silly. Why would we ever want that? 2 words for the same thing. Well, that's the spice of life. I don't think jelly and jam are the same at all. I bet the answer is in the name. Jelly must have some component of gelatin, so we call it jelly. Or I bet jam is because mostly it's fruit that's smashed, jammed into a jar. That makes sense, but what if it's the way they're jarred? Like they're the same, but maybe the packing process has something to do with the name. You mean like how long the fruit must settle or age? Yeah, I guess. I'm not sure what I mean. I just wonder if the process, opposed to the ingredients, may have something to do with it. It probably does, but I bet there's something with ingredients like gelatin, sugar content, juice concentrate, as opposed to the fruit itself that has something to do with it. Wait. Announcement, everybody, my 8-year-old interjects. Did you know this isn't jam or jelly at all? It's preserves. Now, how does preserves relate to jelly or jam? At that moment, I whisper to my wife, Erin, "This is amazing. I can't believe that no one has..." It was like my thought airdropped into my child's head. She walks over to the tiny console on the kitchen counter, and she says, "Hey, Google." She could have said, "Hey, Siri, hey, Alexa, hey, chat." The answer is announced. And for the next 5 minutes, we listen to each other chew. You have all experienced versions of this. I know this. The moral, here we were, collective problem-solving journey, pursuing answers through questions, wonderment, ponder. We were building relationships through collective curiosity. We were connecting, and then in an instant, all was washed away. The answer was there, but the group inquiry and the inquisitive inspiration was muted. We were thrust backward, our wonders silenced, our questions vanished, and we were together alone. Our relationships idled. The instant gratification of an answer felt like the instant destruction of learning. So we are in an exciting and challenging moment in time. I'm told by my friends in Silicon Valley that if the .com was a bubble, AI is stratospheric. We're facing daily interactions with machines, artificial intelligence, and the hard and clear lines of intellectual property and even truth itself seem to blur more and more every day. So I'm not saying it's all bad, but I'm saying adolescence is hard enough. And its challenges are magnified exponentially when living in a world in which we must constantly decipher what's real and what's not. So you should see the charts of when ChatGPT is used. I don't know if you've seen this. There's been some articles on this. In the USA, about 20 billion inquiries happen daily between June and September. That's the summer months. When school starts, 100 billion daily. Goes up 80 billion times. The same stat's true of Monday through Friday and the weekends. So when school's out, artificial intelligence, still in, but it's out. There are certainly worthwhile tutoring platforms and productive uses of AI. My father was just telling me about building his own website with ChatGPT. There's certainly good things, but it is very much becoming a substitute for knowledge, for skill, for focus, for critical thinking endeavors. And this is why one of the answers at Millbrook School, I'm interested to see if you know this. You know what this is? Remember the blue books? We ordered 2,000 of them. Why? Because we want to teach our students to write. If you can't write it, if you can't present it, you don't know it. So we have 2,000s of these now. We are, in some ways, going back to the future. And speaking of back to the future, I have a little fun with you here. It's fake. I'm not that old, but 30 years ago, when I was 14 years old, I was a ninth grader in a school in Syracuse, New York, before I came to Millbrook. It's called Corcoran High School. Students were allowed to smoke cigarettes on the ground. 18 was the legal age, but no one enforced it. And it was common at the beginning and of the day and during lunch break to see students hanging outside smoking. Now, I have never smoked anything in my life. I have other vices. I grew up sick of the smell of smoke because my parents earned a living by owning a restaurant. And I worked there from a young age, and at times we pretty much lived there. And back in the 80s and 90s, smoking in restaurants was an option. Right? Smoking or non-smoking was what the hostess might ask, as if the air could be divided. Right? My point is that smoking was simply normal for the first third of my life and most of your lives. Most of your lives, the majority. There was nothing disrespectful about it. It was even advertised as widely cool. Think Audrey Hepburn, Humphrey Bogart, Paul Newman. Then, after years of data collection and over multiple generations, there was a growing body of research that suggested that smoking was bad. Smoking was proven to cause lung disease and heart disease and skin cancer and thinning hair and discolored nails and all of that. So with some legislation and education, some scary commercials, law and government intervention, healthy living campaigns, the smoke significantly cleared, and we just don't see it like we used to. They're around, but they're on the endangered list for the betterment of mankind. There's a growing body of research that suggests that this will be this generation's cigarette. The damage that phones will cause will not be as outwardly obvious as the physical threats of cigarettes. Oh my God, I love the Beach Boys. And Michael, like it was like I planted you. Surfing USA, baby. Yeah. Did you hear that ring? If everybody had an ocean across the USA. So good. No, so they won't be as outwardly obvious, but worse, I think. Deeply internal and often hard to trace threats to our spiritual and mental health. Depression, loneliness, anxiety, mental fragility, addiction, these often debilitating struggles and disorders will take the place of lung cancer, heart disease, and skin cancer. And this is already a reality. I have never felt stronger. I never felt a stronger moral obligation as an educator and a sense of duty and of care than to address this issue, our phone habits. The question at the heart of the matter that I suggest all of us, including you grandparents, honestly face is, do you possess your phone or does your phone possess you? I'm no fool. Phones aren't going anywhere. I like to use this hockey phrase, nobody's dropping the gloves with Apple and Samsung and Google at the moment. It's perfect, Michael. We are all most likely going to own phones and interact with them for the rest of our lives. And there are a lot of positives attached. They can be life-changing, remarkable tools that help us build efficiencies and connections from which we all benefit. I think of photo albums that we create for our families and the lives of our children. FaceTimes with grandma who lives far away. Watching my daughter's gymnastics meet when I can't be there physically. Maybe my favorite function, which I encourage you all to do, is actually sitting down with an elder, relative, or a friend, pulling up Spotify and saying, what year did you graduate high school? Let's look at the top 10 Billboard hits. What year did you get married? Let's listen to the top 25 songs. Such amazing tool to actually connect, and yet with the good comes the bad. All the research warns us of the undeniably damaging effects that phones have, especially for teenagers who are developing into adulthood and who biologically depend, grow, and thrive and survive on social interaction. To a teenager, their friends are more important than almost anything. And they have moments where their friends are more important than you, mom, dad, grandma, family, school, God, you name it. This is biological fact. And if you really want to feel alone, live life on your phone. The 4 biggest harms, if you've all read The Anxious Generation, if you haven't, you should, by Jonathan Haidt. He says the 4 big harms are social deprivation, that the average American teenager now is spending 7 hours a day on his or her phone. Sleep deprivation, there are now more studies, sleep studies and sleep aids than ever before in the history of mankind because sleep has declined in both quantity and quality because of smartphones. Addiction, everything you do on your phone is made to interact and keep you hooked. So the late legendary CEO, Steve Jobs, and many of his colleagues wouldn't let their children have devices because they knew they were intentionally designed to keep people hooked and addicted. That's coming out of Silicon Valley. The title in a great book called Irresistible, Don't Get High on Your Own Supply. And then, of course, attention fragmentation. So there are between, on every one of our phones, 150 and 500 notifications a day. 150 and 500 notifications a day. So what are they? I don't know. Since the beginning of this talk, if I pulled up my phone, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are doing something cool. There's a flash sale on Lululemon. There's a new color Stanley, TikTok dance, or a political figure just thinking something. They're thinking something. They got to tell you something. So When you do the math, if we paid attention to every notification, we would not have 1 minute to think on our own, much less interact with others without interruption. Almost never, I tell your grandchildren this, almost never is something so important you got to address it in the moment. It's just people and big business and marketers trying to occupy our headspace with their thoughts, not ours. So I want you to consider a quotation from my favorite author and my favorite book of all time, Picture of Dorian Gray, Oscar Wilde. I read it every year. I've read it over, I think, 23 times since college. To influence a person is to take away his soul. He does not think his natural thoughts or burn his natural passions. He becomes an echo of someone else's music, an actor of a part not written for him. To realize one's nature perfectly, that is what each of us is here for. People are afraid of themselves nowadays. They have forgotten the highest of all duties, the duty that one owes to oneself. When we are mindlessly influenced, our souls starve and our courage dies. Wilde warns us to be careful. To be very careful between the difference of information and influence. So what do we do here at Millbrook School? We keep this space, Flagler Memorial Chapel, Chelsea Morrison Theater, Casertano Hall, and anywhere we walk between buildings as no-phone zones. We are trying, we're not perfect. A parent once said to me, but every second you keep that kid off the phone is a win. We are trying to rewire our habits, and we are leaning into being a little more self-aware and a lot more present. We're going to have to help each other as we go through it. And we haven't eliminated phones at Millbrook. We just simply regulate our self-discipline. And there's no better place to regulate habits than with people who share the similar values in a community. And if we all do it and help one another, we will build healthier habits for the future. Some of your grandkids have asked me this question. Well, if I don't have my phone, how do I tell time? Learn it. Get a watch. Get a sundial. Ask, you know what? Ask someone, what time is it? Mr. Downs, but how am I supposed to know my schedule? And I go, call me a jerk. Call me a jerk. But please don't let any college know that you asked me that question. If you can't remember the 4 classes in a day, may God help your teachers, your college professors, and your future co-workers. Now, what about an emergency? Okay, fair question. Good of people to ask. Actually, stats show that the dangers online are arguably worse than the dangers in the real world. In many ways, the world, when you look at mortality rates, birth rates, crime rates, is actually a safer place. In all probability, phones will save our children from nothing, but their sensibilities and their self-awareness and awareness of their surroundings will. So the irony of it all is that which was designed to keep us connected keeps us disconnected. And if we work a little harder, that's what I say to your grandchildren, at connecting here, I think we're going to graduate healthier, happier, smarter, more socially adjusted and adept, better rested, more focused critical thinkers. And I want your grandchildren to have a high school experience that, quite frankly, I wish every child could have. And I know the hard truth that often it's the lucky and privileged few that have something like this. So, Millbrook and I bet some of your children would admit it to, grandchildren would admit it to, we've failed in raising this group of kids. And we're learning from this new frontier, from cigarettes to cell phones to generative AI, and I believe it's never too late to make a wrong right. And so we've got to work hard at changing our habits. And I will wager a confident bet that your grandchildren will become even better parents than we are someday because they've lived through this. And in the end, a better future is really what we want, isn't it? So now that I've shared that, I want to say just a few things about Millbrook. That's what we want here, a better future. We continue to aspire. We aspire to be the finest coeducational, ideal-sized boarding school in the United States of America. The support of our trustees and our alumni, past and current parents, grandparents, and friends illustrates our success by every measure possible. Admission statistics are at an all-time high, 800 applications for roughly 120 spots. The annual fund last year, which is the blood beat of our operating budget, it's about 10%, hit a record high of $2.8 million. We average 75% of our students being admitted to one of their top 2 college choices. And if you've heard of a selective college or university, I promise you we've sent them students there. So the state of our school, in one word, is excellent. And we're not stopping. 3 years ago, we completed a new counseling center and a business office. My family are fortunate enough to live in the reconstruction of a new heads house. And now for almost 3 years, right next door, we have Anthony Alumni House on Pulling Circle, and those 2 buildings have drastically improved the arrival to campus. If you drove down School Road, you saw that we completed 6 new faculty homes on School Road. And across the street, that we say across the pond, we've developed a master plan, board oversight, and a rebranding of our newly minted Trevor Lovejoy Zoo, after Tom Lovejoy, who's class of 1959 here. We're in the midst, if you look through the window, of building a new boys' dormitory. It's a $20 million project. The great thing about the 42 beds for boarders is that we'll have 4 beautiful faculty residents attached to the dorm, which is ideal for residential living in a boarding school. $20 million project, we've raised about $15 million of that. So if any of you have interest in partnering with us, my phone number is 315-430-0627. I can send it out to you. And I'm actually quite serious that brick by brick, our goal is to deliver the best experience we possibly can for your grandchildren. That's our dream. So I will stop there. I've kept you long enough. Thank you.